Welcome to Wednesday Wanderings. My name is Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands, Cape Town. I must apologize for having wandered off in the last while and will in fact be wandering off again in the future. Life seems to have really picked up, and although we're still doing quite a bit in the virtual sphere, my daily life seems to have become very full of in-person engagements. And on one level, that's really been lovely. It's just nice to meet with people in person, to be able to walk around and have that 3D experience of one another. Today, I was really struck in the Eucharist readings about God's ability to provide for us. The first reading was a lovely one from Isaiah 25, verses 6 to 9. And the writer there speaks about the experience of living around a mountain and really relates their faith to the mountain experience. And this passage speaks about it being a feast of rich food, a feast of well-aged wines. And as I look out the window here at Table Mountain in front of me, I'm aware that if I glance to my left, there's Constantia, wonderful vineyards on the slopes of Table Mountain. Aware that there are many restaurants around Cape Town and around the mountain itself that serve really good, rich food. Aware too, though, of the other side of the mountain experience. And again, the writer speaks of this. He speaks of the shroud that is cast over all peoples, and speaks about God destroying this on his holy mountain. Now, before I moved to Newlands, I hadn't realized that shrouds and mountains go together. We're just below the highest point of Table Mountain, Maclear's Beacon. And it doesn't take much for a cloud to attach itself to the side of the mountain. I remember 8 years ago moving to Cape Town, it took me a while to realize that actually, while it may be overcast, damp, even raining quite hard, the sun is probably out in the rest of Cape Town. The shroud just attaches itself and hangs to the mountainside. And the writer here speaks about God destroying that shroud, wiping away tears from our faces. That reading attached, of course, to the gospel reading, which comes this morning from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 15, from 29 to 39. And speaks about the feeding of the 4,000, which the text mentioned is 4,000 men, plus there were women and children present, so a lot more than 4,000 people. And this passage doesn't speak about rich food and abundant wine, but it does speak about a few loaves and a few fish. And while sometimes we want the good wine, we want the rich food, actually, some bread and water is more than sufficient. And what I love about the passage from Matthew is just that wonderful reminder that God takes even the smallest things and uses them to resource us. It's a passage that follows on from the time in Matthew's Gospel where Jesus has been healing people. And Jesus not only heals, but he feeds, he nourishes. And so a wonderful picture here of how God steps into our lives. And even when things feel that we just don't have enough, we don't have sufficient. And maybe that's in terms of real food, but maybe it's in terms of energy. Maybe it's in terms of resilience. Maybe it's in terms, today as this whole new COVID-19 variant impacts on us. And its name reminds me of the home world of the Transformers. So I'm not sure I can take the variant seriously with a name like that. But anyway, moving on, we have to take it seriously and move with it. But just again, a reminder, as I certainly, and I said in my sermon on Sunday, I just can't anymore. I just can't. But outside of that sense, there is also the sense of I can and I will, that God is there. And no matter how infinitesimal I may feel my resilience is at this point, today's reading affirms that God will take that and God will increase that. And as I use whatever resilience it is that I have, and I begin to live that out, so hopefully that will encourage you in your resilience. It will encourage others. And ultimately, in terms of the symbolism of Matthew 15 here, It's that there will be sufficient, there will be basket loads of resilience left over. And so as we reach towards the end of the year, busy time, tough year, tough 2 years, we're back into travel bans and all sorts of things that just impact on our lives. So you may be feeling a bit flat, a bit down, struggling, but really just to encourage you, what few loaves and few fish do you have available to you? And how is God wanting you to use those? And how can you not only be nourished yourself through that, but how can you share that others may be nourished and encouraged? So let us look to what it is that we have. Let us be open to God, using those gifts and trusting that a time will come again when the good wine will be available, when we will eat rich foods once more, that life may have the fullness that we have experienced before COVID-19 and the lockdowns and the impact that it's had on us. And within all of that, of course, to say that we've just begun our Advent journey. And Advent is a time of expectation. It's a time of hope. And that I think really needs to be built on hope for me really needs to be, and again, I said this in my sermon on Sunday, hope needs to be solidly based on authenticity and generosity. And so how in these times, as we use the loaves and fishes that God has given us, how can we do that in such a way that we really are authentic in the way we live, in the way we relate? And how do we demonstrate that generosity of God that can take just those few loaves, those few fish, and feed however many thousands of people? What is it that exists within my life and your life that may have that impact on the world in which we live at this time? Let us offer those to God and let's seek to live it. Having said that, I am on leave for the next 2 weeks, back briefly for Christmas, on leave again, back for a few weeks, and then hopefully from the beginning of February in a period of long leave, busy trying to tie that down. Yeah, that's part of the journey ahead. So today is just one of those little drop-ins, and apologies for not having been around for the last few weeks, and apologies for not being around for the weeks to come, but we'll pop in again as time allows. But God bless you, and may it be a blessed Advent journey ahead for you all.